सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। नमस्कारम। सर्वत्र समदर्शनः, one who has the vision of sameness sarvatra, everywhere. So this morning we were discussing the vision of non-sameness, the vision of diversity, disparity, duality, division, which is what we are experiencing, which we think is the reality about what we are experiencing. You may be seeing many things and still recognize that they are not many, then simply seeing is not a problem. If I am standing in front of parallel mirrors, I see many Swamis in front of me, I know that in fact there is one. So it's not just seeing which is the problem, but the conclusion that we derive from what we see, the conclusion that we derive, the opinion that we have, the conviction that we have, that is what in fact drives our life. Our opinions about ourselves and others, our convictions about ourselves and others form the basis of what it is that I should do, what should be my goal, what should be the means, what should be the values, what should be the attitudes. Everything that I do is determined by my convictions about what I perceive, what I experience, and my convictions about my own self. And that's the reason why Vedanta addresses these convictions. They are the basis of determining whether I am happy or unhappy, I am successful or unsuccessful. Well, ultimately, I am successful if I am successful in my own perception. Even though the world has presented, determined some criteria of what success is, in terms of wealth, name, fame, power, pleasure, and so forth, and maybe by those standards I may be called a successful person, and still that success is not capable of making me happy unless I judge myself as successful. Ultimately, what counts for me is how I perceive myself, how I judge myself, what judgments, conclusions, convictions I have about myself. In forming my judgment about myself, I may take into account the judgment the world has for me. In forming an opinion about myself, I may take into account the opinion that others have about me. The basis for what makes me arrive at my opinions, convictions, conclusions may be one thing or the other. But ultimately what counts is what conviction I have of myself, what conclusions, what opinions, what perception, what self-respect, what self-worth do I have of myself. And this morning we said how we are born with the tendency to form opinions. The tendency to judge things other than ourselves, and therefore the tendency to judge ourselves. We judge that the duality, diversity, disparity that I experience is real. And that's the reason why we went into some details of how this diversity came about. That is called creation. The story of creation is how one as though became many. The one who is inherently free from all diversity, free from all duality, free from all impurity, that one which is Brahman, Nirdosham, he Samam Brahma. Brahman, call it Ishvara, God, Lord, Paramatma, is inherently, essentially devoid of all duality, all divisions, all impurities. Ekameva Dvidiyam, one non-dual, one without a second. If that is the truth, then how to explain this duality, diversity, divisions that we experience? So then story of creation is being told. How that one, non-dual, thought, deliberated, may I become many? And then we describe the process of creation. And how the configuration, what we experience, of what we confront, is determined by karma. My individual karma, as well as the collective karma. It is the collective karma of all the living beings, the collective desires of all the living beings, which is the impelling force for the creation. When we wake up after the sleep, it is the unfulfilled desires, unfulfilled agenda that makes me wake up. And so also the collective unfulfilled agenda of all the living beings is what impels the creation. Creates as though the first desire, so kamayata, he desired, Bahusyam, may I become many. With that he created Tat Srishtva, having created all of this, Tadevanupraveshata. He entered all of this. Says pravishtaha anakhagrebhya. He entered here up to the tip of the nail. As we discussed in the morning, having entered, which means identified. He changed his identity. The character changed the identity to becoming a beggar. That's a limitless, changed the identity. And now he says, I am limited. What's the reason for that? He said, ignorance. So this is a model that is presented by Vedanta that was to understand life. You can question the model, debate about it, but the fact remains that we confront a universe which consists of multiplicity, diversity, divisions, inequalities, disparities. And that has a strong impact upon us. And the basic inequality is that you are different and I am different. I am not what you are not what I am. I feel that you are excluding me and then I in turn exclude you. This is what we do feel, being excluded. Ever feel a sense of separation, separatedness, even isolation, loneliness, limitedness, sometimes helplessness? This is what we feel. And that is samsara. That's what makes us unhappy. It's not so much what happens out there that makes us unhappy as to what actually happens within ourselves, about ourselves. Thus, the story of creations is meant to explain our life as we see it right now. To help us understand why do we think about ourselves the way we think, that we are limited, inadequate, incomplete? That world is separate from me, excluding me, I exclude the world. I should make it my own, I should possess it, I should enjoy it. Create desires, actions, results, reactions, likes and dislikes, desires, actions, results, reactions. How this unending chain is going on, which is called samsara. That stretches from one birth to the other, one embodiment to the other, even from one cycle of creation to the other cycle of creation. A never-ending chain. If we leave the things the way they are, this chain will never end. We will never find lasting satisfaction. We will depart from this body also a sense of dissatisfaction. We will be born in new embodiment with a sense of dissatisfaction as we are born in this embodiment, and struggling to find satisfaction. With other opinion that satisfaction is out there and then I must acquire something, I must get rid of something. I must possess something, I must enjoy something, I must exclude something, I must avoid something. So this is samsara. And then this is the reason why it explained this way. is to draw our attention to the fact that all this unending samsara, unending sorrow, these sorrow go round, in the words of our Puja Swamiji, is because of our conclusions about ourselves, our conclusions about the world, our perception of ourselves, our perception of the world. What is that conclusion? That is the conclusion of duality. That's the conclusion of division, conclusion of being excluded, conclusion of being limited, conclusion of being inadequate, incomplete, limited. Why is that conclusion? Because I look upon myself as good as this body, mind, sense complex. Who am I? I'm this body, I'm the mind, I'm the sense organs. Why is it so? Because I entered this costume and identified with it. Even though the actor is a very wealthy person, but he enters the costume, identifies with it, and thinks that he's a beggar. Then what determines his mind or mindset is not what he is, what he thinks about himself. And that is where the change has to take place. The change has to take place in my perception of myself. Change has to take place in my perception of the world, in my perception of the life, of what my goal is, what my objective is, what are the means of attaining that goal. This is where the change of perception has to take place. And secondly, the change of perception has to translate itself in my thinking, my desires, my attitudes, my values, my actions, my life. To make that change of perception firm or abiding, it is necessary that that perception should form the basis of the way I live my life. And it's called yoga. So how this perception, we explained one way, the unending chain of cause and effect. In the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna uses an interesting expression. Describing a wise person, Lord Krishna says, "Na hinasti atmana atmanam." Na hinasti, he does not injure. Atmanam, his own self. Atmana, by himself. Describing a wise person, a discriminating person, a person who sees things as they are, whose conclusions and convictions are in tune with the reality, in tune with who he really is, what the world really is, who sees things as they are. Yaf pashyati sa pashyati, Lord, he alone sees, who sees what is. As a result of that saying, na hinasti atmana atmanam, he does not anymore injure himself by himself. What it means that as long as he does not have this perception of what is, samam pashyanhi sarvatra samavasthitam ishvaram, Sarvatra samam pashyan, seeing samam, sameness everywhere. Who is that sameness? Sam avasthitam Ishwaram. Ishwaram, Lord, Brahman, that equally abides, obtains everywhere equally. The one who is a unity in diversity, that is free from all the blemishes, in all the apparently full things. Nahinasti atmana atmanam. When one gains that vision, gains an abidance in that vision, no more injures himself by himself. Which means that when we do not have that vision, when we have the vision of this duality, division, separatedness, exclusion, then we are injuring ourselves by ourselves. How can one injure oneself? One meaning of the self is of course the Atma. A true nature is Satchidananda, that's the nature of self. How can I injure myself? How can I injure Satchidananda? Lord Krishna says, Ajo nitya shashvatoyam purana na hanyate hanyamane sharire. Aja, the self is unborn, birthless. Nitya, eternal, undying, free from growth, free from decay. It is beyond being injured. Even when this body is injured, Atma is not injured. It is beyond being injured. Achedyo yamadahyoyam akledyo shoshevacha. Achedya, Atma cannot be cut. Nainam chandanti shastrani. Weapons cannot cut or cleave the Atma. Akledyoyam, he is akledya, cannot be wetted, meaning water cannot wet the Atma. Adahya, cannot be burned, fire cannot burn the Atma. Nainam dhadi pavakaha. Na shoshayati maha. Ashoshya cannot be dried up by wind or by air. With earth and water and fire and air are the examples of the destructive elements which destroy things. With which we destroy, using those weapons we destroy others also. But those weapons cannot destroy, cannot hurt, cannot affect Atma at all. Being Atma is indestructible. Avinashi tadviddhi yena sarvedam tadam. Know that Sarvatra is indestructible. So Atma is indestructible. Beyond being injured. Just as weapons such as sword, etc. cannot cut the space. Fire cannot burn the space. Air cannot dry the space. Water cannot wet the space. When space cannot be disturbed or injured by these weapons, what to talk of Atma? It is true that Atma is beyond being injured in the way, therefore we cannot injure Atma in a primary sense. And still Lord Krishna says, Nahi nasti atmana atmanam. The wise person does not injure himself by himself. Means that the other wise person injures himself by himself. Constantly. By every action. So here injuring may not be taken in a primary sense. Injuring in terms of being injured by a weapon, etc. So the scriptures explain that. And a person can be killed even without the weapon also. Ashastra vadaha. One can be killed without a weapon. How? By openly insulting him, by disrespecting him. So if you openly disrespect someone, insult someone, or accuse someone of what someone is not, an innocent person is accused of being guilty, a very righteous person is accused as being unrighteous. This is also a way of killing that person. At one point in time, Arjuna always had this vow. He was very proud of his bow, Gandiva. And he had taken, anybody who insults my Gandiva, I'll kill him. Some kind of a vow. It just happened at one point in time, Yudhishthira, his elder brother, out of anger, said, what Gandiva you have? What can it do? So he insults Gandiva. And he is vow that I'll kill anybody who insults. He was ready to kill Yudhishthira. So Lord Krishna came to his rescue. Said killing by a weapon is not the only way to kill. You insult in public, humiliate somebody in public. This is as good as killing. And so Arjuna used words insulting, humiliating Yudhishthira in front of others. So this is also killing. It is true that we do not injure ourselves in a primary sense. We keep on accusing ourselves. Nirdosham is samam Brahma. Brahma is nirdosham, ever innocent, ever pure, unsullied. And what do I say to myself? I am impure, I am no good. Brahma is limited, limitless. I am limited. So limitless is accused as being limited. When I brand myself as limited, which self am I branding as limited? The limitless self is being branded by me as limited. The innocent self, the immaculate self, is branded as guilty, as a sinner. The limitless self is branded as limited, inadequate, incomplete. Self of the Atma, who is of the nature of Ananda, wholeness, limitless, I am dukhi, I am unhappy. So when I declare I am unhappy, then I am branding the I or self as unhappy. When I say I am no good, I am branding the self as no good. Without realizing what I am doing, I keep on doing this constantly. I may not use these words about myself, but these conclusions form the basis of all my thinking, my desires. When I am seeking happiness from something, from an object, from a situation, from a person, from a position, from an accomplishment, when I am seeking happiness from anything other than myself, It is based on my conclusion that I am not happy as I am. Which means that I am branding myself as unhappy. The self, who is the nature of happiness, limitlessness, is branded as unhappy, as inadequate, lacking, wanting, incomplete. Is it not so? And this conclusion is constantly there, is the very basis of all my thinking. I have to become adequate, I have to become complete, I have to become happy, I have to become free. And so the desire to become free, desire to become happy, desire to become complete, all of these arise from my conclusion about myself, my branding myself. So thus branding, accusing the self is constantly going on. In that sense, I am injuring myself by myself. It's true that I cannot injure myself by some weapon or injure in a primary sense. But this injury, self-injury is going on. And that self-injury itself causes all of the conflicts in my mind. How can I feel happy with myself when I brand myself unhappy? How can I feel happy with myself when I brand myself inadequate, incomplete, lacking, wanting? These conclusions are constantly running in and through. All my other conclusions, desires, attitudes. So thus, this process of injuring myself is constantly going on because of ignorance, of course, and because of the wrong perception of myself. So we can say that we are born with this tendency to constantly injure ourselves by ourselves, and thus creating unhappiness for our own self, creating conflicts with ourselves. On one hand, I brand myself as inadequate, and I'm not happy with myself. I'm not happy with myself, not satisfied with myself. I reject myself. I condemn myself. This process of self-dissatisfaction, self-rejection, self-condemnation, is all the process of injuring myself by myself. The poor human being suffers from injuring the self by the self. The other meaning of self, Atma, so this is the meaning of the self as it really is, Satchidananda. The self of the Atma is Sat, existence, eternal, is branded as mortal, subject to death. I am mortal. I am going to die. Lots of my desires and activities are to somehow avoid this death. I take myself to be ignorant. Lots of activities are there to avoid, remove this ignorance. I take myself unhappy. Lots of activities to make myself happy. So we can see how these desires of avoiding death, of gaining knowledge, of gaining happiness, all based on my conclusion about myself. Wrong conclusions, accusing myself, branding myself. So all these desires are born of my injuring myself. So this is the process. You can say that our life is manifestation of constantly injuring myself by myself. As long as actions are performed with the desire to become immortal, to avoid death, actions are performed with the desire to become happy, actions are performed with the desire to become wise, all drawn from wrong conclusions, wrong branding about myself. Hinasti atmana atmanam, injuring oneself by oneself. The other meaning of self is this body, mind, sense complex, which is what we think is self. So again we are born with this habit of identifying. As we said, that's called entering. Like an actor entering the costume, meaning that identifying the costume, meaning changing his identity. So Atma also has as though entered this costume, identified the costume, changed his identity. I'm a Jivatma, I'm a limited self, I'm an inadequate self, an incomplete self. So the meaning of the self also is this body, mind, sense complex. That also is a self. That's what I think is self. And that also is being injured constantly by me. So again, I'm not injuring, you can say, Swami, I never injure my body. I don't injure myself. True. But sometimes misusing a thing also is injuring it. Misusing it, wrongly using it, abusing is also injuring. Something that is meant for something is used for something else. In India, you see these wiremen, they use their teeth to cut the sheath around a wire. They don't use a cutter, they use the teeth. But that's handy. After some time they lose the teeth naturally because they've been misused, abused. Using a knife is meant for cutting vegetables. Use it for sharpening your pencil or cutting something else. Children do that, and that's how the knife becomes blunt. There are so many such examples of misusing things. Using a thing for a purpose other than what it is meant for. In that sense also we are misusing the self, hurting the self. This body, mind, sense complex, the human embodiment, is a very precious gift that we have, or a precious possession that we have. Mahata punyapanyena kritayam kayanaustvaya. This verse says that Mahata punyapanyena kitayam kaya nauhu tvaya. You have purchased this kaya nau, meaning this boat in the form of this human embodiment. Mahata punyapanyena, it has not come free. You have to exchange, pay a very heavy price. Mahata punyapanyena. By a lot of punya, a lot of virtuous actions that you perform in the past births, you have expended them, spent them, exchanged them for acquiring this boat in the form of human embodiment. Param dukkho dadher gantum. Why have you purchased this boat? Dukh udadehe param gantum. for crossing this udadhi, the ocean of dukkha, unhappiness or sorrow. You have purchased, you have paid a great price for acquiring this human embodiment, which is equated to a boat for crossing this ocean of grief called samsara. Tarayavanna vidyate. But like any other boat, this boat also is mortal, very subject to breaking down. It's an assembly, and therefore assembly will break down someday. Tarayavanna vidyate. We cross this ocean of samsara before this boat gets disintegrated, before it falls apart. Use it properly to cross this ocean of samsara. Meaning that this human embodiment is like a boat which is meant for crossing the ocean of samsara. There's another verse also which says that this is a boat which is extremely difficult to get, but Lord Krishna says that you have gotten it by my grace. Durlabham, but it's made sulabh by me. The boat is there, and Lord Krishna says, I am the very breeze who is favorable to sailboat. I am the breeze favorable to the sailboat. And you also have a navigator, a boatman who is the Guru. And all of this is given to you. A person who fails to use his boat properly to reach the destination, he is Atma. He is the one who injures himself by himself. Same expression used by Lord Krishna in Bhagavatam. Vivekeshwaram also says, Sahyatmaha swam vinihantya sadgrahat. Because of holding on to wrong things, false things, he hurts himself by himself. So this beautiful boat, this embodiment, this very sophisticated instrument in the form of human embodiment, which is meant for a very noble or very exalted purpose of crossing the ocean of samsara, of attaining moksha. That's the purpose of the embodiment. And that's the purpose for which we have acquired it, or that's the purpose for which it has been given to us, put it this way. But there are countless embodiments in this universe. But as best as we know, none of them is fit for moksha. No other creature ever thinks that I want to be liberated. Nobody thinks that I'm bound and I want to be liberated. That kind of thinking is not given to them. Not that they're liberated, they're bound, maybe much more bound than we are, but still they're not aware of that. They're blissfully ignorant, blissfully unaware. So their embodiment is only given for ahara, nidra, bhaya, maithunam, for appeasing hunger, eating food, nidra for sleep, bhaya to protect oneself from others, maithunam for procreation. So that is the purpose of the embodiments other than the human embodiment. And they are using for that purpose, and they are well using their embodiment. Their Atma, they are using all right. They are not abusing. And they don't abuse. They don't eat more than what they need to eat. They don't need different things different from what is suitable to them. They don't procreate more than necessary. They don't do anything more than necessary. Their whole existence is in tune with the nature, and therefore whatever they do, is all in tune with their nature. So we can say that they respect their Atma, the embodiment. That's how they are designed. But human beings is only one who is capable of injuring himself by misusing this beautiful equipment, beautiful instrument, a fine instrument, like a surgeon's knife being used for sharpening pencils. That story which we may have said in the past, this very poor man in a village, one goes to a Mahatma who was visiting, passing by. But the Mahatmas, sometimes they used to camp in villages also, during monsoon periods when they could not travel. And that time they would get discourses or satsangs. People would go to them for satsang. So this poor man goes to this Mahatma and says, Maharaj, please help me. But they think that they can solve any problem. Mahatmas can do anything. What's the problem? I'm very poor. I have no means even of fulfilling my basic needs. Please show me a way that I can become free from this poverty. Mahatma pulled out something, gave him a stone. Take this. Because Mahatma gave him, a saint gave him, so he brought it with all Shraddha. He did not know what to do with it. So he thought that, well, since the saint has given this to me, it must be holy. So he placed it in his puja altar. Every day giving bath and chandanam, he would do that. Some months went, nothing happened. What's the use of this stone? Every time performing puja, it doesn't do anything for me. So let me use it for some purpose. And so he took this stone out from this puja altar and started using like any other stone for making chutney. Next year, when again the monsoon came, same Mahatma he again visited the village. This man again went to that saint and presented the same situation. I think you came to me last year, did you not? Yes, sir. Did I give you something? So, yes, you gave me a stone. What did you do with it? I don't know what to do with the stone. I use it for grinding the chutney. Grinding the chutney? Says yes. That stone was actually a philosopher's stone, a sparsha. And if the stone is made to touch iron, then iron turns into gold. So it is said. The saint had given him a touchstone to this poor man. He could become wealthy overnight. He did not know its value and therefore he used it for grinding the chutney. This is called abusing, injuring, misusing. And similarly also, this is like that stone. It can transform our life completely from bondage to freedom. But we do not know its value. Everything is as good as grinding chutney. So we use this embodiment merely as a means of acquiring material or worldly pleasures. We think that that's what it is meant for. Therefore, this valuable, precious gift that we have, which is like a philosopher's stone which can turn iron to gold, which is like that boat which can help us to cross this ocean of samsara, is used as a means of acquiring sensuous pleasures for ego gratification, for gratification. So simultaneously we are injuring two self. One is injuring the Atma, the self, which is Satchidananda, by branding that as unhappy, miserable, and trying to make it happy. And secondly, the Atma in the form of this embodiment is being misused for acquiring pleasures. In that process, this body, this embodiment is wasted away. That's how the whole life goes. And Shankaracharya explains, the same process continues in next embodiment. Because the kind of patterns that have been developed during this time, we are born with the same patterns next time. Meaning that when we are born in this embodiment, we already inherited those patterns of the past. And therefore, our thinking patterns are already set. The thinking, judging, branding, same thing goes on habitually. Those habitual patterns are there. We never think about them. We never question them, whether my conclusions are right or not. And those set patterns become the basis of my life in this embodiment also. I do the same thing. Chase pleasures, chase happiness, chase gratification. In that process, insult, injure the self who is of the nature of adequacy, completeness, wholeness. And I also injure this embodiment which is meant as an instrument for making me free. I use this embodiment for making me bound. Hinasti atmanatmanam. This is how a non-discriminating person, an ignorant person, injures himself by himself. This is the story of a human being. So there's another way of explaining how duality or the perception of duality, conclusion of duality, impels us to take a wrong course of life, which is a life of self-injury. And it's natural that when I undertake a process of injuring myself, how can I be happy? How can I be happy by injuring myself? By insulting myself? By misusing myself? By abusing myself? There can be nothing but conflict and sorrow. And that is the situation with a human being. So this is all the result of the perception or conclusion or conviction that this duality, this division is real. The world is separate from me, I am separate from the world. I am confined to this one body-mind-sense complex. Parichinna, I am limited. And therefore, this is the conclusion that we have because of ignorance. This is what we are. This is what our life is. And Vedanta explains first the reason for why things are the way they are. Why do we think the way we do? Why do we do things that we do? And why then do we experience the way we experience? Why is our life what it is? A constant self-injury is going on. And all the injury that we see outside ultimately are the manifestation of the self-injury. Injury means himsa. Hinasti atmana atmanam. He injures himself by himself. And this injury of himsa that is going on with myself is the reason for all external himsa. The primary himsa, the primary violence is this spiritual violence, adhyatmika himsa. Violating my own self, which is Satchidananda. Violating my own self, which is his human embodiment. And that creates constant conflicts in my mind. Self-dissatisfaction, self-non-acceptance, self-rejection, self-condemnation. That causes desire, anger, greed, kama, krodha, lobha. And they are the causes of all external injury. When I act as impelled by kama or passion or lust or indulgence, I injure. My action is injurious to others. When I act out of krodha or anger, my action becomes injurious to others. I may injure somebody physically or somebody emotionally, by my physical actions, by my words, by my thoughts. When I'm impelled by lobha, the greed, then also my actions are injurious to others, because then I trample upon the rights of others. I want to snatch away what others have, what rightfully belongs to someone else. I want to make it my own. I trample upon the rights of others. Thus I disrespect them, hurt them, injure them. So all these injuries that we see in the world, all the injury or violence that takes place in the world is caused by kama, krodha, lobha. That kama, krodha, lobha, all of them have their basis in the injury that I inflict upon my own self because of my wrong conclusions about myself, my wrong conclusions about the world, and therefore the desires arising from them, these emotions or impulses arising from them, in acting out of those impulses, performing actions that are injurious to others and ultimately injurious to myself. When I injure others, I in a way injure myself also. In one way, that what I do boomerangs. We cannot get away from things. It will catch up with us. The actions of injury that we inflict upon others will catch up with us someday. If not today, tomorrow. Who knows the reason why I am being injured by others? I am being hurt by others, insulted by others, robbed by others. Who knows? So it looks like right now, but we don't know. It may be the result of my actions in the past, who knows? This may sound very superstitious to you, but in the morning we talked about the law of karma, that I am accountable for the outcome of whatever I do. The result or outcome may not come right away. It may take its own time. When do we get the fruit? When we sow the seed? It depends on the kind of seed. Some seeds evolve into fructification in 1 year, some take 2 years, some takes 5 years. Similarly, the action that I perform, sometimes the result comes quickly, immediately, or in this lifetime, Or it may come in next embodiment also? How do I know that the way I am being treated by someone else is settling an account of the past? I don't know. Nor do I want to create this kind of superstition in your mind also. But all I am saying is that things catch up. So even in the process of others injuring me, it is likely that in some way I am responsible for, in some way, impelling that person to act in the way the person is acting. Which means that the injury that we inflict upon others comes back to us. And that way we injure ourselves. So all along it is the process of self-injuring. We know the history. How some populations injured the other populations. After a few hundred years, how other populations took revenge upon them. How they take the revenge. We know this, we see this. That's all history. And that we understand. This history of our life we do not understand because we do not remember anything that happened in the past life. We don't even know, and we are not sure if there was a past life to begin with. But you say in the morning that we will accept a past life because there has to be a continuity, otherwise there will be no order. If this is my first birth, then I cannot explain why am I what I am. What's the reason? Why should I be what I am? Why someone else is other than, different from me and they are what they are? Why some people enjoy advantages, some people have disadvantages. Why is it so? Why the disparity? Can't explain. You can't say God created disparity. That's not fair to God, and God is not fair to us. If my whole life will terminate at the end of the termination of this body, then what's the purpose of this life? What can I accomplish in one lifetime? What happens to all the good things that I did, but I did not have a chance to enjoy the result of them? What happens to them? What about lots of evil things that I did, and thank God there was no time to experience their consequences? What about that? If my life is only spans this span of this body, nothing can be explained. Then we will accept continuity of life. Past life, this life, future life. And therefore, hinasti atmana atmanam, an ignorant person, a non-discriminating person, constantly injures himself by himself. In that process, he injures others also. And in turn, gets injured also. So by abusing myself and misusing myself, I injure myself. In the process of injuring myself, I injure others because of kama, krodha, lobha, or these impulses. In turn, others injure me. So life becomes the process of just injuring one another. So this is the result of ignorance. Nahi nasti atmana atmanam tato yadi param gatim samam pashyani sarvatra sam avasthitam ishvaram samam pashyani sarvatra, seeing samam, the sameness everywhere. Samavasthitam Ishvaram, sameness. Is seeing Ishvara who is same everywhere. After seeing that reality about myself, about the world, nahi nasti atmana atmanam, this wise, discriminating person no more injures himself by himself. Tato yadi parangatim. As a result of this knowledge, yadi param gatim, attains the param gatim, the supreme goal, the ultimate goal, the freedom, the success. And therefore, this vision of oneness, of sameness is very important. It is perhaps the most important thing in our life. Because when you don't have that vision, life becomes a process of self-injury and injuring others. It's all process of injuring all along. And when that vision is there is freedom from injury, then there is respecting the self and others and attaining the goal for which this embodiment is given. As you said, we have purchased this human embodiment, the boat in the form of the human embodiment, to cross the ocean of grief. That purpose can be achieved. Tato yati param gatim. That process, that goal can be achieved when we stop injuring ourselves by ourselves. In which process we stop injuring others also. In that process we stop being injured by others. That's the process of self-injury. We have to reverse that process. Om. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Krutau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah. Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.
अपार
सच्चिदानंद गुरु महिमा,
सच्चिदानंद गुरु महिमा,
भावय हे मन गुरु महिमा,
भावय हे मन गुरु महिमा,
गुरु महिमा, गुरु महिमा, अपार महिमा, गुरु महिमा,
गुरु महिमा, गुरु महिमा, अपार महिमा, गुरु महिमा,
गुरु महिमा,